So I heard this there was a CMAA, Construction Managers Association of America, Focus 22 in Chicago a few months ago, and there was a gentleman in a session who was saying that, you know what, all of the rivers of pain in these design and construction projects are flowing from the job site. And the reason is that nobody really knows what's going on there. We don't have the ability to, up until this point, up until these tools came along, to be able to really understand in a full way what is really there and when was it there. And the other thing is that, you know, when we go to renovate the building in the future, if we don't know what's behind the walls or above the ceilings or closed surfaces, what happens is invariably a quote unforeseen condition is hit. And we have to challenge that thought. Was it truly unforeseen, or is it just that we didn't have good documentation to understand? The new normal is that the job site is becoming enlightened. It's becoming illuminated. With these tools, we can quickly and accurately image the job site. And as Brian was saying, you know, we used to always take pictures. We're a construction manager. We have inspectors on site. We always would take pictures. Yes, pictures. But it would take a very long time to organize those pictures, label them correctly, and they're not attached to a drawing, so you don't really know where you're looking. They're not 360 degrees, so you have no sense of that. And there's no single place to look at all of that information to be able to comprehend it quickly. These systems all are offering that. And so you can take pictures in half the time, but they're equally, doubly as effective and productive. So, and furthermore, this is sort of an inflection point. I think when we think about what it would take to get a good as-built from a project turnover, right? That's always pretty impossible because most of the job project team members, they're moving on to the next project, close out the project on time, on budget, you know, throw it over to the operations or facility management people. And on day one of operations, they don't have good as-builts, right? Nobody has good as-builts. Now, as a byproduct of doing better construction quality management with these tools, as you have just seen, a byproduct is as-builts. Now we can see behind the walls. We can see what happened over time. To that point, I think it is in the owner's court to figure out how do we carry these photos forward in a digital twin type system. Could there be that Google Maps type system for all of your buildings where you can see all of the information that is relevant, including, you know, the street view type 360 photos, and walk through that building and be able to see behind the walls? How much would that save? How much of the time that's typically spent at the beginning of a repair or alteration project of any type of capital size large project is spent? How many months do you have two people in the building pulling tape, right? Punching holes in the walls to see what's behind there, but they still don't know. I think that the owners now have an opportunity to figure out how do they pull all of the systems that they have that represent the spaces, the rent, tenant locations, all of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, managed asset information, all of these as-built 2D, 3D, and 360 photos into a single common data environment, and have an interface like a digital twin that could allow them and all project team members concerned to have that transparency and avoid all of these traditional problems with delaying the project start because you have to measure, and then secondly, hitting these unforeseen conditions that you could have easily foresaw. So those are my closing comments. And Harry, I want to make sure I give you some time for.
Thanks, Steve.
Yes.
Thanks for putting together this great panel. And we're at the end of the presentation. So anybody who wants to join us for the discussion, they can turn on their videos and their mics and join us if they have any questions or they'd like to discuss their perspective on the presentations. So one of the questions that always comes to me when we do these community of practice events is that people see that we're presenting similar, maybe competing maybe apps or tools that are available. And their question would be, well, how are we going to differentiate between the use of these, or which one is better than the other? The point that I wanted to make is that we're not here to say which tool is better than the other, because the right tool for your use would be based on your structure, your project, the phase of the project, the culture of your company, the best practices that you do. So in DISM, one of the things that we promote is what we call the WOW, meaning that way of work. So everybody has their own way of work, and what we promote in PMI is that choice is good. So you have to have all your choices available based on what you do and how you do things. You have to pick the best available tool that would fit right with your methodology. And that's the purpose of this kind of discussion panel, where we offer this information. Our friends are gathered together, they communicate, collaborate, they learn from each other, they improve their systems, and eventually it's going to make our industry, the AEC industry, much better, because we're helping each other in improving that. And that's one of the things that we lack in construction industry, is because of the competition that we always feel, especially in the bidding process, is we don't get together as industry or sector to improve these kind of stuff. So thank you very much for everybody's participation, and I wanted to say that everybody did a good job, and we really appreciate your discussions and topics. As one of the things that I'm concerned with Slack as an owner type organization, we need to kind of innovate and kind of use apps and tools like this in the future. So this was very enlightening for me, and so I hope that our audience also liked it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Harry.
So we didn't receive any other questions. So if there are no questions, this is open floor now. So I saw Mani on the call. I asked him to maybe turn on his video and join us, but apparently he didn't see my message. So we can maybe have another meeting with him or something to discuss. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, you're joining.
Thank you.
Bashar, how are you doing, Bashar?
I'm fine. How are you, honey?
Okay, you had a question?
Yeah, so I've seen one of the tools that you can bring up the schedule and to the 3D model. So the question is, can you extract this schedule into P6 platform or into MS Project or anything else? And so is it like an import-export thing? So you can pull up all the updates and then have only the schedule part and then do
manipulate it both ways, you mean?
Yeah.
I think,
Harry, do you want me to take that?
Sure, go ahead, Zach.
Besher, it's Zach McReynolds. Thank you for your question. Yeah, it's actually bi-directional with P6, ASTA, as well as MS Project. And so, yeah, and like you know, coming and going, that's what we mean by bi-directional, right? Because there's updates to the schedule, as you know, all the time. And so, so yeah, that's a short answer to your question. I don't know if there's a more detailed answer, but it is bi-directional.
So one of the challenges that I always faced with doing the picture and taking, actually in my 1.5 year project, I took over 15,000 pictures, and I was promoting use of the 360, but the company didn't see value in it, and they're like, okay, no, we don't want to get this. That's fine. Just do what you're doing, whatever. So one of the things was, first, I didn't have the timeline of how things were happening or how I took pictures. Second was, I would focus on an area or something or a topic or subject that I had, and I would take pictures of that. And then later we find, for example, a different problem that wasn't in the focus. So we had to go and look for those photos and see if we captured something around that topic and see if we can detect the history of the events. So having tools like what we just showed you here, where this is being captured and it's on the drawing, it's like the pictures are actually correlated with your drawings and your BIM model. actually improves the accuracy and the speed in finding that kind of information. And another thing that I wanted to say is when I did my project with DTE, the reason that I got the 5 out of 5 star on my quality program, which was very difficult to attain because it wasn't like easy. I mean, the other parts of our projects were between 4.7 to 4.85 or something like that. So the 5 out of 5 was because we didn't have that many quality incidents or non-conformance. And that was due to like over 500 RFIs that we did before even production. So most of our RFIs were detected using clash detections in BIM, and we were monitoring the job site on a daily basis. We had stakeholder management done with our stakeholders, and we used these photos and this information as our tool to communicate and collaborate with the architect, with the owner, and with the engineers. So I can't emphasize the importance of using a technology like this. And the reason we call it remote CQM is because the people in the field are the eyes and ears for all the business managers, project managers, engineers, and architects that are making decisions in the office. And the best way to do this is to automate it. I know Hollow Builder had like a ad for the that robot dog was a Spot that has this on its head. Yeah, it would walk around. So I was hoping to see some of that too.
Yeah, we did a we did a project with ProCon and Spot Walk, and that's something that we've been working with Boston Dynamics on their robot dog Spot. So we're still pursuing that. That's still something that we're working on. And the future of robotics, I think, is going to be huge when it comes to our industry. So yeah, I mean, if that's something that anybody has any interest in, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk about that. The other, I just wanted to tack on to what you were saying before. I think this type of technology allows you to be proactive in photography and documentation in general, right? Because we hear that from a lot of customers, which is, you know, I have 37 photos of this pipe because it burst, right? But I don't have any before it burst, you know, or like what you mentioned before, I have 100 photos of this one wall because there was something specific about it, but the other 3 walls in the room, you know, I didn't document as nearly as in depth. So these types of platforms definitely allow you to be proactive in that and make sure that the coverage is broad.
Sounds great. And we hope that in future we see those progress tracking AI, for example, mixed with this technology where we can actually get full reports of our progress and stuff based on the pictures that we get. So that's one of the things that is coming up in future, hopefully. And I guess the final remark is for CQM 4.0 and what we say the construction 4.0, if we can bring the IT technology and kind of adapt to the manufacturing processes that are available with lean construction, we should achieve the 4.0 that we're dreaming of. So that's coming very soon to our industry, whether we like it or not. So we have to kind of adapt and learn these things. So I'm going to stop the recording. So in some cases, people don't like to be recorded if they ask questions and stuff. So I'm going to stop recording and